Okay, so for the first card, this is Capricorn Sun, Capricorn Moon, and Capricorn Risings. So we have the Four of Swords. So this card's in the reverse. So this is about coming out of a retreat period. So for some of you, this could be indicating that you could have recently come back from vacation. For some of you, you might have just taken some personal time and you simply just retreated to take a time out, find your balance again. I mean, as you see this woman, she's literally taking a bubble bath. She's like, Calgon, please take me away. Just a little joke there. Okay. Sorry, kind of corny. Anyway. So, this is definitely about us going through a period of rest. And this rest is like after going through a bit of a battle. So for some of you, this battle could have been conflicts. For some of you, these battles could have been, issues within the personal life, within the office, at the job. It could be many different things. Now, sometimes this card can indicate a bit of a truce, kind of like that white flag, especially if you've been involved with conflict with someone. So it's like a white flag of truce. But now that the Four of Swords is in reverse, this is like, okay, now we're back into action. We're back out in the world. We're no longer retreating. So it's time to get back out there and face all those things that we need to face, or face this particular, a verbal battle, whatever it may be. Whatever the situation represents for you, every Capricorn Sun, Moon, and Rising is different. Everyone's situations are different. So, but this definitely indicates a period in which you guys were taking that time out, resting, retreating, and now we're back into action. So it is clarified by the Devil. Well, yeah. Are y'all working too much? So yeah, of course, the Devil card. Here we have our addictions, fears, also, bondage and that illusion. You see how that cage is wide open, but this man's just got his head in between his arms and he refuses to look. The cage is wide open. He doesn't have to be stuck. The cage is basically an illusion. But he won't open his eyes and look up to see that the door's wide open. He could crawl right out of that cage at any moment. So again, this card is about fears, obsessions, addictions. This card is also about karmic toxic relationships. And, these can be romantic or platonic, okay? So it can go either way. So perhaps for some of you, this could be about a relationship. Maybe there were some conflicts going on. Maybe there was a retreat period, but now you may have to go back in and face this particular issue and make a choice on what you want to do. Maybe you might have needed to retreat because maybe fear might have gotten the better of some of you. Not all of you, just some of you. Maybe some of you are just hell or high water about, I'm right, you're wrong. And, if you're right and you're right, then that's one thing. You got to stand your ground. But we also have to be careful that we do not become obsessed with things here. Addictions come up in a big way. These can be chemical addictions. this can be in a sexual addiction, because the devil is a very sexualized card. So we definitely see sexual addictions and obsessions when this card pops up. But the addictions can be anything, you know. Maybe some are addicted to social media. Maybe some are addicted to shopping. You know, I mean, it can be so many different things. But I feel that a lot of you are dealing with some fears. Those what ifs, you know. Okay. So for the circumstances, we have the Three of Wands in reverse position. So this would indicate some sort of project. Could have been a financial project, could have been a creative project, you know, could have been a part-time side project, could even be a job for some of you. Three of Wands in reverse, so this would definitely indicate that perhaps maybe you're experiencing some delays in regards to accomplishing what you've set out to do. Now, sometimes these delays and all these unexpected things that pop in that can be quite frustrating, sometimes this stems because from us focusing on just a couple details when we're losing sight of the big picture. And the Three of Wands in upright position is about having that foresight. And so that's what it loses when the card is in reverse, is we're not able to use that foresight. So, you know, again, this is where we could be focusing on, you know, 1, 2, 3 details, you know, when we need to be looking at the grand scheme of things, the whole entire picture, you know. It's kind of like looking at a couple trees when we need to be looking at the whole forest, you know. So, yeah. And anytime I see this card, I always want to remind that any type of excessive pride or overconfidence, you know, this can definitely be a downfall. Now, this card can also indicate that perhaps maybe some of you could have a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. And maybe you're just scattering yourselves, you know, spreading yourself too thin. And so you're not able to do your best quality work when you are spreading yourself so thin. So there's definitely something that we need to fix within this plan, because as it sits right now, you see these ships in the background. Well, they're still going to come in, but they're going to come in with inadequate resources or inadequate information. So, and when I say resources, I'm referring to finances, money. So, yeah, we definitely need to, you know, take a step back, look at things objectively, reevaluate the entire project or job, whatever it may be. You know, take a look from an objective point of view, because this might help you to determine, you know, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be focused on, you know, so that we can potentially get this Three of Wands to the upright position. Okay, so it is clarified by the Knight of Coins in reverse. Okay, well, out of all the knights, the Knight of Pentacles is the Knight of Coins, Knight of Pentacles, same thing, is the slowest moving knight out of all of them. He definitely takes his time, but you know, progress is being impeded here when he's in the reverse position. So there perhaps could have been some disappointing news that could come in regards to finances, financial matters, or this project. This could be about a delay in regards to this project. Now, the Knight of Coins in reverse can become very, very moody, malcontent, unfortunately. Sometimes there can be the whole need to want to withdraw, and just be left alone. So for some of you, this could have been about a business deal falling through, or, whatever type of project this is, perhaps maybe a deal did not go through or it's been delayed. And so this could definitely cause some of you to be a bit more moody. Pessimism, this is like the card of being pessimistic when it's in the reverse position. So, yeah, pessimistic. But ultimately, it's about a delay. And that's what I'm feeling for most of you, is this is about a delay. And it's definitely tied to this project. It seems like it's definitely one that is of a financial nature. And like I was saying, if you can just take a step back and look at it objectively, you might be able to pinpoint what's wrong and correct the situation. Because if we don't try to do that, then, this can kind of be like, take one step forward, now take two steps back. Now we're back at square one, so time to start over. So yeah, it can definitely end up that way for some of you, where you may just have to start over from scratch. For some of you, you will be able to take an objective look and fix it before it's too late. But where you fall in there is completely up to you, and that also depends on how quickly you were able to see this, so. Now, I want to take a moment here real quick, because we're gonna have a solar eclipse on the 12th of July here, and it's going to be at 21 degrees of Cancer. Now, some of you are probably saying, well, what does this have to do with Capricorn? Well, Capricorn is the opposite of Cancer. So for any of you who have your sun, your moon, your rising, or, your Mercury, your Venus, your Mars, any of it, if you have any type of planet or luminary between 18 and 24 degrees of Capricorn, or even in Cancer, then that planet or luminary will be eclipsed on the 12th. So again, 18 to 24 degrees. Now, there's also going to be a lunar eclipse on the 27th of July. This will take place at 5 degrees of Aquarius. So if you have any planets or luminaries in Aquarius or Leo between the degrees of 2 degrees and 8 degrees. So any planets or luminaries in Aquarius or Leo between 2 to 8 degrees, you will receive the lunar eclipse as well. So if you do not know where all of your planets are, you can go to astro.com, and you can get a free natal chart done there for free. And that'll let you know exactly where your planets are degree-wise. It would definitely help to know your accurate time of birth, especially in regards to your moon sign and degree. Okay, all right. Okay, so also, if any of you guys have been considering making some sort of dramatic changes or some bold moves here, yeah, with these eclipses, I would highly recommend that you wait, because sometimes we can have less than beneficial results under these eclipses, and the fact that we're having 2 in 1 month. Eclipses are not uncommon. We have them every year. But especially if you have one highlighted in your chart, this would definitely be a warning sign to not make any dramatic moves immediately, because these will play out over about a 6-month period. Okay, so for the focus, we have the 6 of coins in reverse. So for some of you, this can indicate that, maybe you've been hoping for a bonus. Maybe you get one. Maybe it's nowhere near as big as you thought it was. Sometimes this can be about being offered some help, but there could be some sort of strings attached. Sometimes this can indicate like a small gift could come your way. For some of you, this could indicate that the distribution of an estate, a will, could be handled unfairly, unethically. This could even be about like a 401k plan, like retirement plan, even severance packages. This is where they may not bring near as much as you thought, especially for like a 401k. Maybe it's not being managed properly, excuse me. And sometimes this can indicate that, it's lost its value. But yeah, any type of contracts, that would involve receiving money, it's like we may not be getting near as much as we thought. And sometimes this can just simply be pointing towards maybe you're just not being recognized for all of the hard work and your time and your energy that you've put into, a project or a situation or even a job, So, yeah, that can really suck sometimes, especially if this is job related. And I feel that it is job related for quite a few of you, so. So it is clarified by the Queen of Wands. So the Queen of Wands is actually quite positive here, because she's very, very confident. This is one thing that she has that we could definitely use right now, is this confidence. Because the Knight of Pentacles over here in reverse, Knight of Coins in reverse, yeah, there's not any confidence there. It's like we're making, we're not able to follow through on things. We're not able to complete, our commitments, So the Queen of Wands, she has that confidence. She believes in herself, and she believes in her own abilities, her skills, her talents, her abilities. She knows that, hey, if I want to go in a new direction, if I want to go in a new path, if I want to, have a new job or move, whatever it is, she can literally make that happen. She can materialize it into being simply by believing and being confident and knowing You know, those doors are going to open for her. And so I think the overall message here for you guys, especially for those of you who could be feeling like you're not being valued for all the hard work and, you know, just all of it that you've put into a certain situation or job, this is really going to be speaking to you, saying, hey, just because this particular set of people or this particular company did not, you know, give you the recognition that you deserve, the Queen of Wands is saying you can pretty much go wherever you want. If you want a new job, it can be yours. Because you need to value yourself more and you need to have confidence in your own abilities. Just because someone does not acknowledge you for what you've done it doesn't make it, you know, obsolete. You still did a good job, whether they want to recognize it or not. You know, so don't worry about those people. I know that's probably hard to take in if this is happening to you, but just know that at the end of the day, they're probably jealous. I mean, not all of them, but you know, for some of you, this will be about jealousy. Sometimes people, they can see the drive and the confidence that you have, and they know that you can outwork them, and you can literally, you know, outwork them to the point where you put them underneath the table. Hence the devil card. You know, so some people, you know, fear that. And, you know, they're certainly not going to voice that, you know. So this can make them behave in a very unbecoming way, you know. This is where they can ignore you and act like you're not doing anything special, but really they're harboring some jealousy and envy. Because they fear that ultimately you could take their position. That's what that comes down to. But most of all, for you guys, don't lose that confidence, okay? You need to know, and you need to feel it in every bone and every fiber of your being, that no matter what type of setback this is for you, don't let it get you down. Don't let it shake your confidence, because you're a hard worker. And if they don't realize it, then that is their loss. Now, for some of you who are dealing with an estate that is being distributed unfairly in an unethical manner, then the Queen of Wands is basically saying, you know, have confidence, see things, not only see things, but absolutely believe it and know that things are going to go your way. Even if they don't go your way within the actual estate and the distribution, it's like the universe will repay you in another way, okay? But you must have confidence. You must have confidence. Do not let these situations cause you to lose confidence, okay? Keep that fire ignited, okay? That's what this comes down to. Don't let any of them put your fire out, because that's what they'd like to do. So looky here. This is your recent past. We have the Queen of Wands yet again. Okay, well, this makes me think that some of you could be dealing with someone like this. Some of you could be dealing with someone like this, and some of you are absolutely channeling this Queen's energy. Okay? Now, typically, the Queen of Wands, I always look at her like she's a Leo, but, you know, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, you know, or just the overall energy. Can be male or female as well. if you're dealing with someone like this. But they are very confident. They have a very commanding type of presence. So when they walk into a room, it's like everybody looks. So even if they don't want that attention, it still comes, so they can't always help it. And that's why I feel that this is more Leo. But this is also a card of intuition as well. Intuition, confidence, creation, manifestation. Okay, so it's clarified by the Eight of Coins. So the Eight of Coins is about practice makes perfect. So it's like we're no longer an apprentice. We're now working on mastering a particular skill, a particular ability, or even a particular set of skills. And we're steadily working towards that mastery and that perfection. And this is also indicating, having skills and abilities that we can get, recognition from, and that we can also financially profit from. Okay, so this would be the present, the here and the now energy. We have the High Priestess in reverse. So this is typically I refer to this as a Pisces and Virgo type of card, because Pisces and Virgo are the opposites of each other. And this card very much has polarity here, duality. You can't really see it so much on this card. Oh, here, wait. Y'all can look at my phone case. So this would be the duality, the polarity difference. So it's like a Virgo and Pisces card all in one. So, yeah. So when she is in the reverse position, this is like we have turned our intuition off, or perhaps maybe you might be ignoring the intuition, that inner voice, that inner knowing. So typically this card is indicating that there is a situation where there is more than meets the eye. So we need to look deeper. It's kind of like a puzzle, okay? And it's like, little clues come in bits and pieces. So it's like, we get another puzzle piece here and there, and we slowly start constructing it to understand what this particular mystery is, because it's a certain situation where there's a bit of mystery around it. But there is also a need to look deeper into this situation, okay? And it would be a lot easier if you guys would just listen to the inner voice. Sometimes we don't like what that inner voice, our higher mind, is saying. So we may rationalize, and continue on. But yeah, in this situation, this is kind of like we need to be listening to that inner voice. And I think a lot of you may have just turned away from it, or turned it off, or just completely ignoring it. Because if we're listening to our inner voice, then we have the answer to our questions, okay? We'll know exactly what situation this is, because this is a card of absolute intuition and that inner knowing. But we're not listening when it's in the reverse position. Or we're not open, we're not receptive to it. Or we don't want to hear it because it's saying something we don't want to hear. Now, another thing here is the High Priestess in reverse. She has the ability to manipulate, especially psychic energy, and not necessarily to your benefit, okay? So some of you could be dealing with someone like this within a particular situation in your life, and which, okay, this is leading me, I gotta tell you guys this real quick too, because I'm pretty sure you guys didn't get the Hanged Man, which all the readings except for Virgo and you guys have received the Hanged Man, but you guys in Virgo have not. So basically, Neptune has gone retrograde. Some of us are feeling pretty off, maybe a bit more stressed out. Some of us could be dealing with a bit more anxiousness and depression, and some of us can't even pinpoint why, because it seems very out of character for us. There could be more confusion going on. Well, we got a lot of planets in retrograde right now. And if you don't have many planets in retrograde, then this will make you feel pretty confused, scattered. Yeah. So just know you're not crazy. If you're dealing with a real medical problem, then please seek medical, professional medical assistance. But, for some of us that are just feeling slightly off and we cannot pinpoint it, it's because of the retrogrades. Now, Neptune is in retrograde. Neptune is going to be in retrograde until November 24th. It will turn direct, means it'll start moving forward again on the 25th of November of this year. So what does this mean for you? Well, this is the type of energy where a lot of illusions are no longer going to be illusions. They're going to be shattered. So basically, Neptune is snatching this veil off of our eyes, okay? And you're able to see certain people and certain situations for exactly as they are. So some of you may end up feeling like, dang, I can't believe I've been wearing a pair of rose-colored spectacles all this time, but hey, don't feel bad. This is happening to every sign, okay? Some people are going to have to deal with it more than others. So, yeah. If there are any situations in your life that are not what they seem, you're going to end up seeing the truth of it. Now, when that happens is a very personal thing. And, also depends on your charts and a few other factors. So, just know that it will more than likely happen, no later than November. But I think for a lot of people, it's happening pretty quickly. So, this right here, it would be very valuable for us to turn this switch back on to start listening to our inner voice. Okay. Alright, so it is clarified by the King of Cups. I always want to call this a Capricorn card as well. Many people will disagree with me, but I do not care. Technically, this is more along the lines of Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. But, this king here, he's very emotional, but you would never guess it by looking at him, because this man has an amazing poker face, okay? But underneath that poker face, just beneath the surface, there are a lot of deep emotions, but you'll never see it on his face. So this king, he restrains, he controls his emotional reactions. And so does Capricorn. So this is why I feel like, this card always reminds me of Capricorn. I don't care who disagrees. Because, there's a lot of people out there that don't have enough knowledge and they just assume that Capricorns are heartless. Emotions, what emotions? They're clueless. You have to truly know a Capricorn and they have to trust you before you'll ever get to see that side of them, but they have a very emotional side. You guys know. You have that very emotional side. Capricorns experience the highest highs and the lowest lows, like big time. But they're not going to advertise it to the world because they got that poker face. And they're not going to let it interfere with them getting their job done. So they are really good at concealing their emotions. You already know. Okay, but some people cross-watch, so I have to put it in those terms. Okay. So, King of Cups, this is a man that's very, very compassionate, okay? So he's emotional, yet it's restrained and controlled. But he's very compassionate, and this makes him very good at listening to other people and their situations. Like, this is a man that can handle the very sticky, emotional situations. And he can do so with compassion. So this makes this man a bit of a good counselor. Sometimes he can be a leader in religion. Sometimes you'll see him in jobs that, could have something to do with water, fish, anything that's got to do with water. Sailors, sometimes even the Navy. You know what I mean. So things like that, also like hospitality type of services. The King of Cups also, he likes to do humanitarian type of work as well. Yeah. He doesn't just want to make things better for just a couple of people or just himself. He wants to make things better for all, for the collective. Now, for most of you, I feel that this is probably just indicating that we need to turn that switch back on, listen to our intuition, and maintain that balance between our intellect and our emotion. Continue to have that Capricorn poker face. And, stay strong. Stay strong. Don't let things drag you down. Don't let anybody drag you through the mud. But most of all, you got to start listening to your intuition, okay? Because there is a situation that you need to look deeper into, okay? And I want you guys to look deeper into this situation because I don't want you guys to experience any more problems or opposition or drama, and you definitely want to understand the motives of a particular person in a particular situation, okay? And, for some of you, there's going to be a bit of mystery around this person or situation. And that's when you need to look deeper. And this is where you need to listen to your intuition. Because your intuition has the answers. Okay, so this would be the near future. So we have the Eight of Swords. So this is definitely a card of fear, restrictions, fear. Okay? It's also a card of indecision as well. Typically, this card can come up for us when we are trying to make a choice, but fear just can take over us. And then it's like we cannot see the true nature of the situation because fear has gotten the upper hand on us. And so it's like our thinking has become completely fear-based. And this can be pretty hard to make a decision under. Now, the one thing you need to realize is this is kind of like a self-imposed mental prison. And the mental prison, the bars are made out of your fears. And for those of you who've been watching my videos for a while now, then you already know I always say fear wants to paralyze us. It wants to keep us on that hamster wheel. And we're just running, but we're not making it anywhere. And that's what fear wants to do to you. I say don't let it get its way. Don't let fear get the upper hand on you. Sure, you may have to make a decision, okay? And sometimes dealing with the unknown can bring fear, but this is where we need to start having some hope and some faith, okay? And let's not be focusing on what we're lacking and everything that's wrong, because the more that we focus on what's wrong, we attract more of what we don't want. So if we're giving our attention and our focus to everything that's wrong, we're going to get more things that are going to be wrong. So let's not do that. And I know that's easy. It's easier said than done, okay? So it's something you got to work at, but hey, I believe in you guys. So, yeah, this is definitely a card of feeling like you're completely restricted from making choices. And you're completely stuck because of the fear. And sometimes you just got to have faith and, take a gamble, take a leap of faith, But just like Neptune in retrograde, okay, you guys, these swords that are surrounding this woman, make no mistake, in this particular card, it looks like she's trapped in there. She's not. She put that blindfold on herself, okay? She actually walked in between those swords and decided to sit down. She did this herself. At any point in time, she can literally stand up, take that blindfold off, and walk in between those swords right out of them. So this very much deals with illusions as well. Because fear is an illusion. Ooh, okay, so it's clarified by the Six of Cups. So this is a card of looking back on the past, looking back, having good memories of the past. There could be a bit of nostalgia. Now, this is also a card that has to do with our siblings, our cousins. This can also be a card of, lovers or, friends that we've had since we were, teenagers or, even from our very young childhood. Now, a lot of times this card brings an opportunity. And this opportunity is offered to you by someone that has ties to your past. So this could be a family member. This could be a longtime friend. This could even be a stranger that could have perhaps went to the same high school that you did. But no matter what, it's like they have some sort of tie to your past. Or something associated with your past, okay? Now the opportunity that is presented it's presented because the person genuinely wants to help you. It's not being offered out of, hidden motivation and, malice and things like that. They truly, truly want to help you with your situation. And so I say, you know what? That's not anything to be scared about. But again, it's up to you to make that choice. Maybe some of you have a couple different options. And maybe you're just trying to figure out what you want to do, which you want to pick, which way you want to go. But I can tell you that the opportunity that is offered to you through someone that has ties to your past, their motives are good. They're pure, okay? They truly just want to help. For some of you, it could simply be, someone that has ties to your past that just wants to, give you some sort of, opportunity or a job offer, or maybe even decide to help you out with your bills for a month or two. I mean, it can happen. This opportunity can be so many different things, but the best thing about it is the motive is pure. They just want to help. So that's positive. Okay, so I'm just going to say a little bit of a trigger warning here. Some of you might get offended. Some of you may not, okay? Some of this may resonate with you, and some of it won't. Okay, so the things I'm about to say here, you may not be able to identify with all of them. Maybe you just identify with one or two. Maybe you can identify with all of it. And if you identify with all of it, you may either love me or hate me at the end of this, but don't shoot the messenger, okay? Sometimes we need to be called on certain things so that we can correct them and move forward. Okay. So, for the attitude, we have the Page of Coins. Okay, so this would definitely indicate that some of you could be not listening to some good logical advice that was given to you. Some of you could be rebelling. Some of you could be doing what others are doing, falling into, follow the leader. Although I don't really associate that with Capricorn, but, again, we are dealing with Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs. So I feel like this may resonate more with someone who has Capricorn Rising or Capricorn Moon. But I feel that some of the suns are going to resonate with this as well. So, anyway. So, the Page of Coins in reverse, it's like they want all these great, luxurious, material things, and they want the money, but guess what? They're being lazy. They're not willing to do the work. Now, for some, this can be about withdrawing and being pretty moody. Perhaps these delays have got some of you feeling pretty moody. But some of you need to get up off of your ass and get to work, okay? Excuse my French, but, some of you gotta, stop blaming circumstances and thinking that life is conspiring against you. Some of you need to get to work. Stop making excuses. Pure and simple. Now that is not going to be for everybody. The majority of you, that message is not for, okay? But there's a few people that needed to hear that. Because typically Capricorn suns don't need to hear that. But there are a few that do, so just to be clear. Now, sometimes this can be, being lazy, procrastinating. So, financial opportunities can definitely fall away when you're being lazy and procrastinating. Yeah. So look, it's clarified by the Three of Wands. Except for the Three of Wands is upright here. Circumstances, Three of Wands in reverse. So this tells me that for a lot of you that are definitely struggling and wondering, why is this not working out? Well, pick your choice of what I just said. Although I feel some of you are spreading yourselves too thin. So you're a bit scattered and you're not doing the best that you can do. Some of you are letting the delay get the better of you and making you depressed. Well, getting depressed isn't going to help you. So snap out of it, okay? Snap out of it. Do not allow that depression to take you down, because it can take you all the way down if you will let it, so don't. But, some of you just need to get to work, Some people want to just have things magically fall together and, everything just works out for them without having to do much of anything. Well, no. I'm sorry, but the whole Capricorn energy, no matter whether it's your sun, rising, or moon, Capricorn is about hard work. Capricorn it's ruled by Saturn. So, hard work. You earn through hard work. You cannot be lazy and expect things to go your way. On occasion, that can happen. And, that's when you're getting really, really, really lucky. Because Capricorns Saturn is pretty tough, We know that there are rules, there's an existing structure, and we have to work our rear end off to make things happen, So some of you just need to get to work. For those of you who are very much, work addicts, that's not for you. Okay? All right. So, this is how other people see you. So here we have the Ace of Swords. I particularly love this energy, although not everyone does, and that's okay. But to me, this sword represents truth. This sword has literally just sliced through an apple, but, this sword is truth penetrating matter, okay? So it's about getting to the truth of the matter. Sometimes this is about us having a truth, our own truth, or an absolute truth that we just need to speak on. Now, this is a very powerful card because the sword is definitely double-edged, okay? So it can cut both ways. So this is a card that we want to be careful. We don't want to apply too much force. We do not want to push too much, because pushing can only create more opposition to come our way. Now, the Ace of Swords can also indicate that, yes, we're given a new start, and this new start has occurred, and we have risen out of a much more difficult situation, okay? So there is some difficulties with this, but if you don't have any problems with truth and, integrity, which, hey, most Capricorn sun, moon, and risings have it, but, some are still learning, so. Okay, so it's clarified by the Ten of Cups. So for some of you, this could be a new start for a family, a relationship. For some of you, you want this new start so you can take care of your family or your significant other, or both. Maybe some of you want this new start so you can buy a home. But it seems like the new start is occurring, and it's basically being driven by the Ten of Cups, which is, our happily ever after. This is our family happiness. This is our personal happiness. This is contentment, you know. So happy, family, married couple, we got the children, we even have the dog, okay? So we could even say emotional security. Yeah. Okay, so this would be hopes and fears. So these can be subconscious or they could be conscious. So some of them you'll be able to identify with, sometimes you won't. And the ones you don't, they could be more subconscious. So, first card we have Four of Cups. So this is about us taking, a time out. We're definitely going through something, especially emotionally, and we're being very emotionally and self-reflective. Because if you see this woman, she's staring at her image in the water there. She's reflecting on her emotions and some sort of emotional situation which she's been through. In general, this can be a card of feeling like you're dissatisfied with your life or where you're at in a particular situation. So dissatisfied, discontent, this can also be a card of boredom. But a lot of times it's dissatisfaction. Just feeling blah. Oh, but looky here. It's clarified by the Nine of Cups. So this is, a wish come true. So, kind of seems like a bit of a hope and a fear in one. Now, sometimes the Four of Cups can be representing an opportunity, and the opportunity is this cup that's being offered to her. But she's so stuck looking and reflecting on her emotions that she doesn't see this cup that's being offered to her. But this is a wish being fulfilled. So it definitely seems like some of you are withdrawn and doing some self-reflection. But some of you are also still hoping and waiting to see, am I going to get what I want? Am I going to get this wish I've been wanting? So sometimes we might resonate with one more than the other. Okay, so the final outcome is the Two of Swords. So this is about indecision. It's kind of like stalemate. This is where we really need to make a choice, but we're dealing with that indecision. So this woman literally puts this blindfold on herself because she wants to use her third eye. She wants to use her intuition, but she also wants to take the time because she wants to weigh things out. She wants to weigh the pros and the cons of each choice, of each decision. So she's going to take her time when it comes to making the decision. And the decision is one that does have some emotions behind it, because we see the water, and the water is always representing emotions. So there's an emotional nature to the decisions that she needs to make. So some of you could be going through this where you're still trying to decide, which do I choose? Which way do I go? Well, do your research. Don't be afraid to dig in, do research, investigate, weigh the pros and the cons on all of the information that you get. Take your time, we don't want to rush, but we don't want to take forever either. So, we got to find that happy median in between. And that's why I say we need to have some reasoning abilities and some logic here. And, definitely analyze the situations, the decisions, the choices, research them, and then weigh the pros and cons. That can help you make your choice. So, looky here. It is clarified by the star. The star is saying, hey, have hope. Have faith. Whatever you wish for, it can be yours. This is the very card of inspiration. It's like we are being given this inspiration from above, okay? This is also a card of good health. But most of all, this is a card of, inspiration and what is your wish? What do you want? Because it can come true. This is a very, very, very positive card. This is also a card of having, some sort of creative talents or abilities. And hey, if you do, then maybe that's the choice you might want to make. That's going to help a few of you. So that's very positive. It seems like the star is there blessing you, so whatever choice you make, it's like you're still being blessed and protected from above. Okay, so the bottom of the deck, we have the Eight of Cups. So this is where we are literally stacking the cups up. We're walking away from a situation where we're abandoning a situation of some sort. Most of the time, this is a card of going on that spirit quest. We want to see, are things better on the other side? Is the conditions any better on the other side of this mountain? Is the grass greener on the other side of this mountain? So this is a card of spirit quest. So a lot of times this is where we want something with higher purpose, with higher meaning, It's like the basic and the shallow is just not going to cut it for us anymore. Basic surface things, we want more. We want something with more meaning. And so for some of you, this can indicate you leaving certain situations. For some of you, this can be leaving a relationship, romantic or platonic. For some of you, this could be, leaving a work type of condition. It could be many different things. Some of you may decide to move and, go to another state or another country. But no matter what, it's about, walking away from a situation, basically abandoning it, but we're doing so because we're searching, we're going on this spirit quest. Ooh, yes. Hello. So it's clarified by the Knight of Wands. So the moment that you take off for your spirit quest, looky here, the Knight of Wands. This is always a night that brings us an opportunity or changes, okay? And these changes are always very, very positive. The opportunities that can be brought forward from the Knight of Wands are always very positive. So it looks like the moment that you guys make the choice, you guys are definitely being protected. And this is you guys walking away from a particular situation and going on that spirit quest. For some of you, this can be about, I'm walking away from the fear. And I am going to walk towards having hope and having faith and believing in myself and being confident. And the moment that happens, look at what happens. Some amazing changes and opportunities are presented to you. Yes, this is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, love oracle cards real quick. These will be for the Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs that are single. Is it safe for you to love? Open your heart to give and receive the highest energy of all. Yeah, so some of you might be interested in someone in your life currently, but maybe you're questioning, should you open your heart? Should you let that wall down? Should you give in? That's really a personal choice. Sometimes we can be a bit more cautious about bringing that wall down and letting someone in and actually loving because of, past circumstances. But we do not want our past situations to cloud our judgment, okay? Because if we take our past situations and always assume that things are always going to be like that, then we can create a self-fulfilling prophecy there. And we do not want to do that. So, for some of you who might be carrying around some hurts and, maybe even some grudges, and when it comes to relationships, it might be time to emotionally detoxify. Sometimes this comes down to, first and foremost, you need to forgive yourself. And then this can be about, sometimes we need to forgive other people. You don't actually have to reach out to them and say you're sorry or I forgive you, okay? Sometimes this is about just simply forgiving them, not for them, okay? Forgiveness is more for us because it allows us to no longer dwell on it. It allows us to move forward, to move on, and so that we can clear that negativity from our emotions and from our own aura. Okay? All right. Okay, now this really rings true. I feel like this should be on both sides. Finances and career. Financial issues are a factor in your love life right now. So that's pretty much to the point. Because let me tell you what, a Capricorn that doesn't have a job or is low on money or broke, that's the most miserable person you'll ever meet. Because a Capricorn without money is absolutely miserable. And I can say that because I have met a lot. And boy, if they don't have that money or that security and knowing that they can make that money and that right job, yeah, they're not happy. Ooh, okay, the final one is let go of control issues. Allow this situation to unfold naturally. So, yeah, this is definitely speaking, if you have, someone that you are trying to get into a relationship with or very much wanting to have a relationship with, you don't want to control the situation. Stop trying to push, okay? Because the more that we push, kind of like the Ace of Swords, the more that we push, the more that we can actually end up hurting ourselves in the long run. And the more that we push, we can create opposition. And then we can create this situation where, they end up walking away from us. And that is not what you want, okay? So let go of those control issues. Don't try to control the situation. Let things happen on their own, naturally. Let things happen in divine timing, so to speak. Have that faith, okay? Suggested by the star. Have the faith. If it's meant to be, it will be. Nothing will stop it if it's meant to be. Okay? The only thing that can prevent it is you continually pushing. Okay, so these are for the Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs that are married or in a committed relationship. So, first one is honeymoon. Enjoy the bliss of holiday time together. So, this can indicate that perhaps some of you could have recently gotten married. Perhaps maybe you're on a honeymoon. Perhaps some of you are still newly married and you could be in that honeymoon phase still where everything is great. For some of you that are in relationships, this could indicate that you might still be in the honeymoon phase of your relationship where everything is beautiful and great. Now, for some of you, this card could be popping up and saying, hey, if things have not been so great, then maybe you and your significant other or your spouse should take the time to take a holiday together so that you can have the time to reconnect with one another and reestablish that passion and that connection. Good luck getting Capricorn to call off of work. Sorry, bad joke. Make the effort. Great love is worth taking the steps you're guided to take. So I feel this definitely relates more to the people who are in newer relationships, but this can even be relating to people who've been married for a while as well. This is about us, not being afraid to reach out. Be the first one to reach out, to communicate about something, especially if, your relationship might be in a rut and maybe you need to make the effort. Maybe you need to speak up and say, hey, babe, maybe we should go on a, holiday together. Maybe we should, spend some time together, just you and me. Let's turn off the phones. Let's, reconnect, Let's find that passion again. And for some of you that are in new relationships, this could be pointing more towards maybe you haven't fully given your heart yet. And maybe this is saying, well, if you know you love this person, then go ahead and open your heart all the way up. Make that effort. Let them know how you're feeling. Maybe some of you are wondering, should I ask him or her to marry me or move in or whatever? Make the effort. Romantic feelings. Your feelings are real and worth exploring. That's pretty much to the point, so I'm going to leave that at that. Oh, ouch. Okay, so separation. Time apart from your partner is on the horizon. So, for some of you, this can be indicating that you might have been recently separated. Maybe this separation is because some of you might be feeling ready to get a divorce. Maybe some of you are taking a break from each other, taking this time to separate to see if this will help things. Maybe some of you might be seeking out some counseling while, taking a trial separation. For some of you, this separation could be indicating that perhaps maybe your significant other or your spouse could be separated from you, but it's due to circumstances. So maybe they may have to go to another state or another country because of family obligations, or maybe they have some sort of work obligations. So this separation occurs because of circumstances that are beyond both of your control. So, but it can still, be a really hard energy to deal with. So this doesn't automatically mean that, you're going to separate. You'll know which card resonates with your situation. I don't want anybody to take this energy on as theirs, like, oh my God, so we're going to get separated. Yeah, if you're not having those type of problems, don't take this energy on as yours, okay? Because this card is going to resonate with those that are actually going through this situation. And for those who are actually going through this situation, sometimes distance can make the heart grow fonder, Sometimes this can make our bond deepen and grow, So even though it's, it's kind of like growing pains, it hurts. It hurts. Okay, time for the positive affirmation cards. Okay, so the first card is the Messenger of Air. Opinions informed by experience, adherence to dogma, allegiance to a way of thinking or acting, a learned response, subconscious programming, and swift reactions or responses. I need to broaden my perspective. I am reacting to a situation from my past. I have to think about whether I want to do things the old way or respond differently this time. I can adapt a new way of thinking and behaving. If I am swift and move quickly, ensuring my actions are for the highest good, positive outcomes are assured. Transformation. Transformation, change. Nothing remains the same, and I need to accept that life evolves through cycles of birth, death, and rebirth. Now is a time of transition as things are changing from one form to another. I need to allow this to happen for the highest good. I am called to let go the old so I can welcome the new. Star. Star. The star, inspiration. I am hopeful and inspired by life right now, and everything that is happening points to a renewed sense of encouragement. After all the changes I have experienced, I am starting to recognize the hope that comes with new beginnings. And 7 of Air. Independence, nonconformity, living life on one's own terms without people pleasing. Now is the time for me to live life on my own terms. So I must find the courage to reject conformity. Listening to my yearning for independence is the key to breaking free of groupthink and attending to my own needs. Diplomacy with others can help me to be true to my call, to do what I know I must do for myself.